Hey guys, so we're back up and running, but we're going to use the phone because I cannot get the camera to work for our streaming. So I'm going to give everybody a minute to jump back on. Are you there? Okay, let's see. Let's give everybody a minute to jump back on. All right, Miss Linda's back with us. Good. All right, so we'll give everybody just a few more minutes. I am so sorry. Our camera has completely gone kaput. I mean, will not light up at all. Guess it's time for a new camera. All right. So thanks for being patient in that. And we'll get started with our story here in just a minute. There's Miss Monty. Thanks. It's good to be back. It's good to be back. Thank God for our cell phones. All right, because we can always improvise with them, right? Okay, let's see. I am going to get our devotion ready while everybody's jumping back on. Hoping Juliana and Colleen get reconnected here in a minute, and my sweet friends from Myanmar. All right, guys, come on. Here we go. All right, so... Oh, there's Adrian. Hey, girl, welcome back. Thanks for being patient. Adrian knows a little bit about the struggles I have with all this technology in this classroom. Makes me a little crazy. And our camera had been acting funny. And I thought that it was our connection box, our docking station. And I think it's kind of been acting funny too. But now the camera has completely quit. So we'll just be replacing the camera and see how that goes. There's Juliana and Colleen. Good morning. Welcome back. Glad you could join us. All right, so let's get started. I think we got a few more friends that might jump on, but we'll go ahead and start with our devotion. All right. Let's see. So today's lesson is about how the Lord will provide. So remember yesterday, He rescued them, right? Monday. He parted the Red Sea so they could walk through. And so now, today, we're going to talk about how He has provided for them. So listen to this story. I do hope my sweet friends can reconnect, everybody. I'm so sad that it did us that way. All right, here we go. Food from heaven. So our focus verse is Genesis 22:14. So Abraham called the name of that place, the Lord will provide. So let's see what happened. From Exodus 13:15-16. Follow the cloud, Moses told the people. God led the Israelites through the wilderness in a pillar of cloud during the day and a pillar of, who knows? Fire, that's right. A pillar of fire at night. They camped at Elim, where there was plenty of water and palm trees. Doesn't that sound beautiful? Then they set out again into the wilderness. Rumble, grumble. I'm getting hungry. Aren't you getting hungry? They started complaining to each other. One person asked another, aren't you hungry? Aren't you hungry? Me too. That's for sure, the answers came. The Israelites should have remembered all the ways that God had already taken care of them. However, when they should have trusted Him and asked Him to give them food, you know what they did instead? I'm so hungry. I wish we'd never left Egypt. We had plenty of food there, even though we were slaves and beat and they were mean to us. They forgot that part, I think. Let's see. Why did Moses bring us way out here anyway? Then God heard the people's growling tummies. Oh, there you are. Welcome back. Okay, so we're all together now. Good. So the people's bellies, they were grumbling. You know how you can hear your tummy growl? Oh, they were growling. And God heard them. And He heard their complaining too. Oh, ungrateful people, right? But I'm sure because He's God, maybe He didn't see it that way, but that's how we would have said. Yes, thank the Lord we are back for sure. He still loved them, and He gave them a new way to learn to trust him. Because see, that's how God is. He's always making us a way. Even when we're complaining and grumbling and I don't have this and I don't have that and right? God always makes a way. And did you hear what he said? He gave them a new way to learn to trust him. Tonight, I will send quail for the people to eat, God told Moses. And in the morning, I will send bread from heaven. The people will gather it every morning. Moses and Aaron told the people, God has heard you. Tonight you'll eat meat, and in the morning you'll have bread. And that night, quail flew into the camp for the people to catch and eat. Just like that, God provided for them. The next day, early in the morning, the Israelites got up and looked outside their tents. What are those white flakes all over the ground? They asked in wonder. This is the food God promised, Moses said. Each of you may gather as much as you can eat today. Did you hear that? It's an important thing. Today. Don't save any because God will send you more tomorrow. Now, let's see if they listened. Let's go gather it up, the people said. Let's try some and see how it tastes. So good. It's like wafers made with honey. The people called the flakes manna. They could take the bread, and with it, they could eat the bread or they could make cereal. Every morning for 5 days, God sent new manna. But you know what? Some people didn't listen to Moses, and they saved more manna overnight and planned to eat it the next day. But you know what happened the next morning? Yuck! The manna that they saved was full of worms, and it smelled terrible. Because see, they weren't obedient, and when they did that, they were not trusting God. That was showing that they were not trusting that he really was going to provide for them the next day. Because he told them, gather what you need today, don't keep any for tomorrow because I'm going to send some fresh tomorrow. But some of them got greedy. See, there's that greed. Greed is not good. They got greedy and they wanted to keep more than they needed, and it rotted. It had worms in it and it smelled bad. Ooh. Then on the 6th day, God told the people to gather enough manna for 2 days because the next day, the 7th day, which was the Sabbath, was a time for what? Rest. That's right. So he was not going to send them manna. They were not going to go out and collect it because he was going to send them enough for the Sabbath the day before. There wouldn't be any new manna to gather on that day. When the Sabbath came, the manna the people had saved overnight was still fresh and fine to eat. It did not spoil at all. See, they were starting to see, yet again, that God provided a way for them. They can trust him. For as long as the Israelites traveled and camped in the wilderness before they entered the promised land, God sent them manna. He knew what his people needed, and he took care of them. He always does, doesn't he? He always provides exactly what we need. So let's see how this can apply to our life. When summer ends, summertime, and school begins, when we go back to school in the fall, you get a list of school supplies that you're going to need for your class, right? Like crayons and markers and maybe some paper. But you can't get those things yourself if you're a kid, right? You need a grown-up to buy those things for you. Maybe a parent or a grandparent that loves you and provides your school supplies for you. One of God's names in the Bible is the Lord will provide. God loves us, and he knows exactly what we need all the time. When we're young, God gives the job of providing for us to our parents, or for some of us, our grandparents, right? When we grow up, he helps us to work and to earn money so that we can buy things and care for ourselves, right? Sometimes when we need help, God sends a friend to help us, and he provides what we need with a miracle. God's gifts to us are always exactly what we need. He always gives us exactly what we need. Now, sometimes we may think we don't have enough, right? Because we're human. And sometimes we think, well, that's just not enough, Lord. I need a little bit more. But we've got to trust him, right? Because he knows exactly what we need. And remember, one of his names is the Lord will provide. So we're going to say it. It's Jehovah. Everybody say Jehovah. Jireh. Can you say Jireh? Jehovah Jireh. There's a new praise and worship song out right now. Jireh, you are enough. Right? Because he is enough. And he provides us with enough. And we have to trust him and be thankful for what he gives us. Yeah. So, Jehovah Jireh. That means the Lord will provide. He is enough. And he gives us enough. What a great lesson, So that comes from our devotion book, I Am, where we're learning all these different names for God because he is so many things to us. So many things. All right. Now, real quick, we're going to finish up our Narnia story from yesterday. Remember, we stopped mid-chapter because we didn't have a ton of time. So we're going to wrap this up. This is pretty short today. So, turn on your listening ears. You ready? Now remember, C.S. Lewis wrote these books. Are these books real? Are these true stories? No. They're made up stories. They're fiction, right? So, but what he did was he wrote these adventure stories, and there are things in it that point us to Jesus, because he wanted to find a way to help people see Jesus in other, in his stories. So, listen up, and then we'll point out things about Jesus. Here we go. It is spoken with understanding and foresight, but how do I draw back my arm and if all this doesn't work? You shall say that I did it without your knowledge and against your will and without your blessing, being constrained by the violence of my love and I can't even say some of these words. Impetuosity of youth. Impetuosity, there it is, of youth. And how if the high king then demands that we send back the barbarian woman, his sister? Oh, my father, be assured that he will not. For though the fancy of a woman has rejected this marriage, the high king Peter is a man of prudence and understanding, who will in no way wish to lose his honor and advantage of being applied to our house, and seeing his nephew and grandnephew on the throne of Calormen. He will not see that if I live forever, as is no doubt your wish, said the Tisroc in an even drier voice than usual. And also, oh my father, and oh the delight of my eyes, said the prince after a moment of awkward silence. We shall write letters as if from the queen to say that she loves me and has no desire to return to Narnia, for it is well known that women are as changeable as weathercocks. And even if they do not wholly believe the letters, they will not dare to come to Tashbaan in arms to fetch her. O enlightened vizier, said the Tisroc, bestow your wisdom upon us concerning this strange proposal. O eternal Tisroc, answered Ahasta, the strength of paternal affection is not unknown to me, and I have often heard that sons are in eyes of their fathers more precious than carbuncles. How then shall I dare freely to unfold to you my mind in a matter which may imperil the life the life of this exalted prince? Undoubtedly you will dare, replied the Tisroc, because you will find that the dangers of not doing so are at least equally great. To hear is to obey, moaned the wretched man. Know then, O most reasonable Tisroc, in the first place, that the danger of the prince is not altogether so great as might appear. For the gods have withheld from the barbarians the light of discretion, as that their poetry is not, like ours, full of choice apophthegms and useful maxims, but is all of love and war. Therefore nothing will appear to them more noble and admirable than such a mad enterprise as this of, for the prince at the word mad had kicked him. Desist, O my son, said the Tisroc, and you estimable vizier, whether he desist or not, By no means allow the flow of your eloquence to be interrupted, for nothing is more suitable to persons of gravity and decorum than to endure minor inconveniences with consistency. To hear is to obey, said the vizier, wriggling himself round a little so as to get his end parts further away from Rabadash's toe, because he didn't want him to kick him again. He is not very nice to him at all. Nothing I say will seem as pardonable, if not estimable in their eyes, as this hazardous attempt, especially because it is undertaken for the love of a woman. Therefore, if the prince by misfortune fell into their hands, they would assuredly not kill him. Nay, it may even be that though he failed to carry off the queen, yet the sight of his great valor and the extremity of his passion might incline her heart to him. This is a good point, old Babber, said Rabadash. Very good. However it came into your ugly head. He is so mean to him. The praise of my masters is the light of my eyes, said Ahasta. And secondly, O Tisroc, who reigns, must and shall be interminable. I think that with the aid of gods, it is very likely that Anvard will fall into the prince's hands, and if so, we have Narnia by the throat. There was a long pause, and the room became so silent that the two girls hardly dared to breathe. At last, the Tisroc spoke, because remember, the girls are hiding behind the couch. Remember, they snuck into this room, and then they all came in, and they're stuck there. Yeah. Go, my son, he said, and do as you have said, but expect no help nor countenance from me. I will not avenge you if you are killed, and I will not deliver you if the barbarians cast you into prison. And if, either in success or failure, you shed a drop more than you need of Narnian noble blood, and open war arises from it, my favor shall never fall upon you again, and your next brother shall have your place in Calormen. Now go, be swift, secret, and fortunate. May the strength of Tash, and inexorable and irresistible, be in your sword and lance. To hear is to obey, cried Rabadash, and after kneeling for a moment to kiss his father's hand, he rushed out of the room. Greatly to the disappointment of Erebus, who was now horribly cramped, the Tisroc and the vizier remained. "O vizier," said the Tisroc, "it is certain that no living soul knows of this council we three have held tonight." "Oh, my master," said Ahasta, "it is not possible that anyone should know, except for the two girls hiding behind the couch that they don't know about. For that very reason, I propose, and you in your infallible wisdom agree, that we should meet here in the old palace where no council is ever held and none of the household has occasion to come." "It is well," said the Tisroc. "If any man knew, I would see to it that he died before an hour had passed." But the girls know. Oh no. "And do you also, O prudent vizier, forget it. I sponge away from my own heart and from yours all knowledge of the prince's plans. He is gone without my knowledge or my consent. I know not whither, because of his violence and the rash and disobedient disposition of youth. No man will be more astonished than you, and I, to hear that Anvard is in his hands." "To hear is to obey," said Ahasta. "That is why you will never think even in your secret heart that I am the hardest-hearted of fathers, who thus send my firstborn son on an errand so likely to be his death, pleasing as it must be to you who do not love the prince. For I see into the bottom of your mind." "Oh, impeccable Tisroc," said the vizier, "in comparison with you, I love neither the prince nor my own life, nor bread, nor water, nor light of the sun." "Your sentiments," said the Tisroc, "are elevated and correct. I also love none of these things in comparison with the glory and strength of my throne." Oh, so do you see? The king loves his power. The king of, wherever they are, Tashbaan, he loves his power more than people, and more than the sunlight, and more. See, do you see how that's so self-centered? Oh, if the prince succeeds, we have Archan land and perhaps hereafter Narnia. If he fails, I have 18 other sons, like they're replaceable, right? and Rabadash, after the manner of the eldest son of kings, was beginning to be dangerous. More than 5 Tisrocs in Tashbaan have died before their time, because their eldest sons, enlightened princes, grew tired of waiting for their throne. Oh, it's such a sad thing, greed. He had better cool his blood abroad than boil in action here. And now, O excellent vizier, the excess of my paternal anxiety inclines me to sleep. Command the musicians to my chambers. But before you lie down, call back the pardon we wrote for the third cook. I feel within the manifest of digestion. Meaning he's hungry, right? All this royal talk, it's very hard to understand. To hear is to obey, said the grand vizier. He crawled backward on all fours to the door, rose, bowed, and went out. Even then the Tisroc remained seated in silence on the divan till Aravis almost began to be afraid that he had gone to sleep. But at last, with a great creaking and sighing, he heaved up his enormous body, because remember, he was a big old man, signed to the slaves to precede him to the lights, and went out. The door closed behind him. The room was once more totally dark, and the 2 girls could breathe freely again. All right, so listen. Next time we're together, we will read chapter 9, which is Across the Desert. Okay? And this is where we're going to see some of them escaping to get to Narnia, where they'll be safe. Now, remember yesterday, or I keep saying yesterday, Monday, we were looking at our biblical parallels, and it was talking to us about how the wicked man craves evil and his neighbors get no mercy from him. This story is a prime example of that Bible verse, because, and here's the other thing, they're seeing evil as good and good as evil. These people are so confused in this land. Prince Rabadash, like his name suggests, is both rabid and rash. He sees Queen Susan's rejection of his marriage proposal as an insult to be avenged, and his anger burns out of control. Proverbs 14:17 says, a quick-tempered man does foolish things. Proverbs 16:18 warns, pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall. So do you think that his greed and his pride is going to get him what he wants? No. And even if he's able to conquer her in this story, is she going to want to be with him? No. And tell me, do you really want to be with people that don't want to be with you? No, you don't want to force people to be around you. All right, so think about this. The Bible lists 6 things that God hates, 7 that are detestable to him. How many of them is Rabadash guilty of? So here's your hint. Proverbs chapter 6, verses 16 to 19 list those things. And you think about our story about Rabadash and think of how many of those that he is breaking. And now let me remind you, the Bible is true. This story is not a true story, but the Bible is true. And so we're seeing things in this story that relate to Scripture. So I want you to try to find in Proverbs chapter 6, verses 16 to 19, how many of the things God says he does not like is Rabadash doing. Clearly, he does not care about being obedient to God, and he may not even know who God is, right? Okay, so that's your challenge for today from our Family Guide in Narnia. So remember, if you can send that list to me in a message or in a text, or you can mark up Polo or video chat with me and give me the list, then I'll have a prize for you. Okay? All right, guys, I'll see you next time in chapel. I'm so sorry about our camera malfunction today, but it's okay because we made it. And I'll see you next time in chapel. Kissing hands. Let me see them. I love you guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.